So not a number, which is NaN, that's how it translates to in Java. So when you kind of like print something that's not a number, this is what it would give you. So any operations involve infinity, yielding infinity, well, most but not all. It's weird, but okay. So floating point numbers can store another special variable, which is the, not a number. In mathematics, if you divide infinity by infinity, the result is undefined. In Java, if you divide infinity by infinity, the result is, not a number. So I guess if we do something like 0.0 and 0.0, you'll get not a number. I can run different operations on this on top. I can do like 5f plus 5f, right? And no matter what I do, it will just give me, not a number. These are like the general operations of, if you do any operations on top of this infinity, it's just always going to be not a number. So no matter what operations you do after, it's always going to be not a number. Again, use case for this, not 100% sure where you use it, because whenever you're dealing with numbers, you want numbers. Maybe in like a special case where, you can put any number you want, you might want to like try to handle it, right? So if your value is actually, not a number, you can do something like if x is equal to none, or this. Okay, let's take a look. How we do this. Well, it means not a number. How do we use it? Be float.nan. That's how you would do it. So it's gonna be, you do double. Right. So basically doing not a number like this, I guess Java doesn't understand it this way, but there is a double, not a number, and then there's a float, not a number. So it'd be like this. What these actually return me, let's take a look. So this gives me a float, and this gives me a double, I think, what it would be. Right, so this gives me a double. So if x is equal to this, we're going to print out, error or something like that. So let's take a look here. Probably have to cast it. I'll explain what this means when I cast it. But if I do this, I guess it's a float. Then, which is weird because we're specifying that it's a double. Which is also weird. Can we see if it's we can do is not. Okay, there we go. So okay, so this is how you check if something is not, is not a number. So let's take a look if this will work. There we go. So I guess the main difference in between, trying to do this, x error is there, I guess there's some type of checking internally within this function, within this method, that will cause it to actually verify if x is not a number or if it is a number. But this equality, I guess, is not able to apply that same kind of logic. The way this equality actually works is that it only like, tries to look at the actual number that's being stored, where it's stored, right? So it's able to like pull that and then compare those two numbers. I guess with the non, it's a bit different on how it does it. I mean, we could take a look. Literally does this, but I'm not sure why, which is weird. So we can do something like this. So if I did this, wait, it said v not equal to v, which is very weird. Not sure what the let's see, returns true if the specified number is not a number, value false otherwise. So parameter is v. So this is kind of how documentation work. I guess since I'm reviewing it, we can take a look. So the way you actually reach this page is, in any functions, if you hold kind of control, you'll get this like underline. And by click on this, you can kind of like go to the definition of what it is. So if I click on X, it's going to go to X. If I click on anything else, S out Y, and I hold control, and then click on Y, is going to go to Y. So, holding it on function as well works. So if I have like another function, public static void X, sorry. And I call X, I'm able to hold control and it will go to that function. So I'm just trying to delete this. Now just quick tooltip, I guess. Right, and you can do this as well on functions that you didn't define yourself. So these are predefined kind of objects that Java has, and if you click on them, on the function or on the actual object itself, it will kind of like direct you into that, into that place where you want to be. So I want to check this out. So the isNone function, this is what it is, and the Java will give you documentation. So this documentation kind of looks like this. So it returns true, kind of tells you what it returns, tells you what it takes, and then it kind of tells you what it returns. So first is like the objective of what's going to happen. Second is kind of the parameters that are being put in. So anything within these brackets. And then at the end, it gives you kind of the return statement that it's going to do, or the value that it's going to give you. So true if the value of the argument is not a number, false otherwise. So I'm wondering if we can do something like X does not equal to X. So if we do this, right, so that's this, and if X is equal to X, right. So I'm guessing the way that, verifying how not a number works is kind of verifying it through if first of all, it has a number or not. So this is why they use the inequality here and trying to kind of compare the two numbers. Because otherwise, if they were equal, this would be false, right? This expression would be false, or this conditional statement would be false. But instead of doing this everywhere in your code, you can instead use the actual function or method that the Java developers put in, and you'll kind of like be a lot more clear because you have no idea what this means. You understand like what does this really mean, right? Like if you have actual like values here instead, doing this really makes sense because you kind of expecting it to be an actual number. But instead, if you kind of do something like this, where you kind of understand that you're checking to see if it's not a number or if it is a number, you can kind of like anybody can go and read it. If you do this, it's kind of like you really have to understand Java to really know what's going on here. And this is why they basically made this function to give developers this kind of like easier experience with dealing with, trying to see if something is a number or not, instead of putting in this inequality in your code, right? Again, I guess I would do this as some sort of check to see if the values inputted were correct. That's pretty much the only use case that I see there. One more than infinity.